The shocking betrayal. The message that shattered everything. Welcome to my channel, Crownfire Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The champagne glass slipped from Maya Chen's fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the penthouse bathroom. Her phone screen glowed in the darkness, illuminating the message that had just destroyed her world. Can't wait for the wedding next week. Finally getting rid of her. The prenup ensures she gets nothing. Meet me at our usual spot tonight. Jay. The sender? Her fiancé's business partner, Victoria Ashford. The recipient? James Hartwell, the man Maya was supposed to marry in 7 days. A love built on lies. Maya's hands trembled as she scrolled up through the message thread. 6 months of exchanges. 6 months of planning. 6 months of betrayal happening right under her nose while she planned seating charts and tasted wedding cakes. She's so naive, thinking you actually love her, Victoria had written 3 weeks ago. James's response made Maya's stomach twist. Her father's tech company is the prize. Once we're married and I'm on the board, we'll have everything. Then we can be together properly. The bathroom walls seemed to close in. Maya had met James 2 years ago at a charity gala her father hosted. Marcus Chen, Silicon Valley's legendary tech mogul, had built Chen Tech from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. James had seemed perfect, charming, ambitious, supportive. He'd proposed on her birthday with her grandmother's ring, tears in his eyes as he spoke about forever. All of it had been a performance. The father she couldn't tell. Maya splashed cold water on her face, careful not to smudge her makeup. Downstairs, 200 guests mingled at her engagement party. Her father's voice carried up the stairs, giving another toast about how proud he was to welcome James into the family. She couldn't tell him. Not yet. Marcus Chen had suffered 2 heart attacks in the past year. The doctors said stress could kill him. Finding out his future son-in-law was a con artist orchestrating a corporate takeover would destroy him. Maya needed proof. She needed a plan. But first, she needed to survive this party without falling apart. The performance of a lifetime. Maya descended the staircase with a practiced smile, her red dress flowing behind her like blood in water. James stood at the bottom, extending his hand with that perfect smile she now recognized as a weapon. "There's my beautiful bride," he said, pulling her close and kissing her cheek. His cologne, expensive, intoxicating, now smelled like poison. "Sorry I took so long," Maya said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "I was just overwhelmed with happiness." James's eyes searched hers for a moment. Had she said it too flatly? But then he laughed, pulling her toward the crowd. "Come on, Victoria just arrived. She's been dying to talk about the wedding." Of course she has, Maya thought bitterly. Victoria Ashford glided across the room in a white dress, white to an engagement party, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her smile sharp as a knife. She'd been James's business partner for 5 years, helping him build Hartwell Innovations from a startup into a major player. Maya had always found her cold, but James insisted she was essential to his success. Now Maya understood why. "Maya, darling," Victoria embraced her with practiced warmth. "You look absolutely radiant. James is so lucky. We both are," Maya replied, forcing herself to look Victoria in the eye. "I can't thank you enough for all your help with the wedding planning." "Oh, it's been my pleasure," Victoria said, her hand resting possessively on James's arm. "Anything for my best friend's happiness." The audacity made Maya want to scream. Instead, she smiled wider. The locked office. As the party continued, Maya excused herself, claiming a headache. She slipped through the crowd and made her way to her father's study, a room James had visited countless times, charming his way into Marcus's trust and business dealings. She knew her father kept copies of all major contracts in his safe. If James had signed anything suspicious, anything that would prove his intentions, it would be there. The study door was locked. Looking for something? Maya spun around. Her younger brother, David, stood in the hallway, his arms crossed. At 23, David was brilliant but reckless, always at odds with their father's traditional business approach. James had cultivated a friendship with him too, Maya realized with growing horror. Another piece of his strategy. I need to get into Dad's office, Maya said quietly. It's important. David studied her face. They'd always been close, able to read each other's moods. What's wrong? Everything, Maya whispered. But I can't explain yet. I just need you to trust me. After a long moment, David pulled out his phone and opened an app. Dad gave me digital access after his last heart attack. In case of emergency. He unlocked the door. I hope you know what you're doing. Maya slipped inside, her heart pounding. The safe was behind a painting of their late mother. She'd watched her father open it 1,000 times, memorizing the combination for exactly this type of emergency. Inside, she found folders organized by date and type. She rifled through them until she found what she was looking for, a proposed contract between Chentech and Hartwell Innovations, dated 3 weeks ago. James had been pushing her father to sign it, claiming it was a partnership opportunity. Maya's blood ran cold as she read the fine print. If her father signed this and the marriage went through, James would gain controlling interest in Chentech through a complex web of shared assets and voting rights. He'd structured it so perfectly that Marcus wouldn't even realize he was signing away his company until it was too late. That clever bastard, Maya breathed. Finding interesting reading material? Maya's heart stopped. James stood in the doorway, his charming smile gone, replaced with something dark and calculating. Behind him, Victoria leaned against the doorframe, looking amused. You know, James said, stepping into the study and closing the door behind them, I really hoped you'd make it to the wedding before figuring this out. Would have been cleaner that way. The trap closes. Maya's mind raced. She was trapped in her father's study with the 2 people who'd been plotting to destroy her family. Her phone was in her purse, downstairs. The party noise would drown out any screams. How long have you known? Victoria asked, genuinely curious. Long enough, Maya said, clutching the contract like a shield. You won't get away with this. I'll tell my father everything. James laughed. Will you? And give him another heart attack? The doctor said the next one could kill him. He moved closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to marry me next week, smile for all the photos, and your father will sign that contract as a wedding gift. In 6 months, once everything's transferred properly, we'll have a tragic divorce. You'll get nothing. The prenup sees to that, and I'll console your grieving father while slowly buying out the rest of his shares. You're insane, Maya whispered. I'm ambitious, James corrected. There's a difference. Your father built an empire, Maya. He's a genius. But he's old, sick, and sentimental. He's already talking about retirement, about legacy. He wants to see you settled, happy. I'm giving him that peace of mind while I take what I've earned. You've earned nothing, Maya spat. Victoria pushed off the doorframe, her heels clicking against the hardwood. See, this is why James needs me. You're too emotional, Maya, too attached to outdated ideas like loyalty and love. In business, the only thing that matters is who's smart enough to take the opportunity when it presents itself. And if I refuse? Maya asked, already knowing the answer. James's expression turned cold. Then your father's company mysteriously develops financial problems. regulatory investigations, lawsuits from shell companies. I've been building a contingency plan for months. By the time the dust settles, Chentech will be worthless, your father will be broken, and you'll have nothing. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Or you can play along, save your father's legacy, and walk away quietly when it's time. Your choice. Maya felt the walls closing in. She looked at the contract in her hands, at the two predators circling her, at the door that might as well have been 1,000 miles away. Then she smiled. It was a real smile this time, filled with something James and Victoria had never seen in her before, rage transformed into purpose. You're right, Maya said softly. I have been too emotional, too naive. She set the contract down on her father's desk. I'll see you at the wedding. James and Victoria exchanged a glance, surprised by her sudden compliance. Smart girl, James said, reaching for her hand. Maya pulled away. Don't touch me. Not until we have to pretend for the cameras. She walked to the door, paused, and looked back. You both made one critical mistake. What's that? Victoria asked, amused. You assumed I was my father's daughter in name only, Maya said. That I'd inherited his money, but not his mind. Her smile sharpened. You're about to learn why that was a fatal error. She left them in the study, her heart pounding, but her mind crystal clear. The game had changed. They thought they were playing her. They had no idea she'd been trained by the best strategist in Silicon Valley since birth. The wedding was still 7 days away. 7 days to destroy them both. End of part 1. Heartbreak and revenge. The war room. Maya sat in her childhood bedroom at 3 a.m., surrounded by laptops, files, and cold coffee. She'd sent David away hours ago after swearing him to secrecy. What she was planning required absolute discretion. Her phone buzzed. James. Good night, my love. Sorry about earlier. Victoria and I were just worried about you. See you tomorrow. Can't wait for our forever to start. Maya deleted the message without responding. She opened her laptop and pulled up everything she'd gathered on James Hartwell and Victoria Ashford over the past 6 hours. Her father had taught her young, information was power, and in Silicon Valley, data was everything. James's background checked out on the surface. Stanford MBA, successful startup founder, clean legal record. But Maya had access to tools most people didn't. Her father's head of security, Marcus Chen's ex-military right-hand man, Thomas Reed, had taught her how to dig deeper. What she found made her blood boil. James Hartwell had been engaged once before, 5 years ago, to a woman named Sarah Morrison. Sarah's father owned a mid-sized pharmaceutical company. The engagement ended abruptly, 3 months after the wedding date, and 6 months later, Morrison Pharmaceuticals went bankrupt amid a hostile takeover. The company that bought them out? A shell corporation that traced back to James and Victoria. The pattern emerges. Maya pulled up more records. Victoria Ashford had a history too. 3 previous business partnerships, all ending with her mysteriously acquiring her partner's assets after suspicious circumstances. Legal, but barely. Each time, the partners had been too broken or too scared to fight back. You've done this before, Maya whispered to her screen, but you've never targeted someone like me. She made a list. 1 point expose James and Victoria's past schemes. 2 point protect her father's company and health. 3 point ensure they never hurt anyone else again. 4 point make them pay for playing with people's hearts. But she needed help. Her brother David was brilliant with technology, but too impulsive. Her father was too sick and trusting. She needed someone who understood corporate warfare, someone with as much to lose as she did. Maya pulled up Sarah Morrison's contact information, the woman who'd been James's first victim. At 3:47 a.m., she sent an email. "Miss Morrison, my name is Maya Chen. I believe we have a mutual enemy. We need to talk. Unlikely allies." The next morning, Maya met Sarah Morrison at a quiet cafe in Palo Alto. Sarah was elegant, sharp-eyed, and carried the look of someone who'd survived a war. "I almost didn't come," Sarah said, stirring her coffee. "But when I saw your name, when I realized who you were engaged to..." She looked up. "He's doing it again, isn't he?" Maya nodded. "And she's helping him." "Victoria?" Sarah's expression darkened. "The Ice Queen." "Yes, she was there during my engagement too. Always hovering, always whispering in James's ear." She leaned forward. "Let me guess, he's been pushing your father to sign a business deal? Something that seems perfectly reasonable but gives James just a little too much control?" "How did you know?" "Because that's exactly what he did to my father," Sarah said bitterly. "By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late. My father lost everything. The stress." She paused, composing herself. "He had a stroke 6 months later. He's in a care facility now. Can't speak, can barely move." Maya felt her resolve harden into steel. "I'm going to stop them." "How?" Sarah asked. "They're careful, Maya. Everything they do is technically legal." "I tried to fight back, tried to expose them, but without proof of actual fraud." She shook her head. "I ended up looking like a bitter ex-fiancé making wild accusations." "Then we get proof," Maya said. "Real proof. The kind that holds up in court and in the court of public opinion." Sarah studied her for a long moment. "You're serious, deadly serious. What do you need from me?" Maya pulled out her laptop. "Everything. Every email, every conversation you remember, every detail about how they operated. We're going to document their pattern of behavior. And then," she smiled coldly, "we're going to catch them committing fraud in real time." The setup. Over the next 3 days, Maya became someone she didn't recognize. Cold, calculating. Every smile she gave James was a weapon. Every wedding detail she discussed with Victoria was a trap being set. She played the perfect bride, all while David worked behind the scenes, setting up digital surveillance of James's and Victoria's communications. Thomas Reed, her father's security chief, quietly investigated their financial dealings, and Sarah Morrison provided the historical context that revealed their methodology. "They always make their move right before the wedding," Sarah explained during one of their secret planning sessions. "James will pressure your father to sign the contract as a wedding gift, something to bind the families together. That's when Victoria typically initiates the secondary phase." "What's the secondary phase?" Maya asked. "Creating a crisis that requires immediate action," Sarah said. "With my father, it was a fake investment opportunity that needed to be acted on within 24 hours. With others I've researched, it's been emergency buyouts, sudden market opportunities, anything that makes the victim feel like they need to act fast." Maya's mind raced. "So we wait for them to create their crisis. And when they do, we document everything. And then we expose them publicly, legally, and personally," Maya said. "I want them to lose everything the way they've made others lose everything." But there was one problem. 4 days before the wedding, Maya's father called her into his study. The father's trust. Marcus Chen looked older than his 62 years, the recent heart attacks having taken their toll. But his eyes were still sharp, still seeing everything. "Sit down, Maya," he said gently. She sat, her heart pounding. Had James and Victoria realized she was onto them? Had they told her father some twisted version of events first? "I wanted to talk to you about the contract," Marcus said. Maya's blood ran cold. "James has been very enthusiastic about this partnership," her father continued. "And I have to admit, on paper, It looks beneficial for both companies. He paused. But something doesn't feel right. Maya's heart leaped. What do you mean? I've built Chentech from nothing, Maya. I've seen every kind of business deal, every angle, every play. He pulled out the contract. This is clever. Very clever. But it's too clever. Too perfect. The kind of perfect that hides something ugly underneath. Tears stung Maya's eyes. Her father was still the genius everyone said he was. I haven't signed it, Marcus said. And I won't sign it until after the wedding. If I sign it at all. He looked at his daughter. Do you trust James? This was it. The moment Maya could tell him everything, could bring her father into the plan, could share the burden. But she looked at his pale face, at the way his hands trembled slightly, at the bottle of heart medication on his desk. I trust you, Dad, she said instead. And if you think something's wrong with the contract, then there is. Marcus smiled sadly. That's not what I asked. Maya took a deep breath. I love you, Dad. And I promise you, everything is going to be okay. But I need you to trust me for the next few days. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. And no matter what happens at the wedding, she met his eyes. Know that I'm doing what you taught me. I'm protecting our family. Her father studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. You're more like me than I realized. Your mother would be proud. Maya hugged him tightly, memorizing the feeling. Everything was about to explode. The final piece. That night, David burst into Maya's room with his laptop. I got it, he said breathlessly. I finally got it. Got what? Proof. He turned the laptop toward her. On screen were email exchanges between James and Victoria from the past week. They've been planning a fake investment crisis. There's a shell company in the Cayman Islands set up to make it look like a legitimate tech firm is about to go public. They were going to pressure Dad to invest his personal fortune as a wedding gift to you and James. Money that would then disappear into their accounts. Maya read through the emails, her anger transforming into something colder and more precise. There's more, David said. Thomas found their other victims. 4 families over the past 7 years. All the same pattern. All legal enough to avoid criminal charges, but devastating nonetheless. He pulled up a document. I've compiled everything. If we release this to the media, if we show it to the right authorities, we'll destroy them, Maya finished. Completely. So what's the plan? Maya looked at her wedding dress hanging in the corner of her room. White silk and lace, expensive and beautiful. The dress of a naive girl who believed in love. She wasn't that girl anymore. We let them think they've won, Maya said. We go through with the wedding. We smile for the cameras. We let them believe I'm too weak or too scared to fight back. She turned to her brother. And then, at the reception, when they think they're celebrating their victory, we burn it all down, David finished, a fierce smile spreading across his face. Exactly, the night before. The rehearsal dinner was torture. James was charming, attentive, playing the perfect groom. Victoria gave a speech about friendship and loyalty that made Maya want to throw her wine glass. Guests laughed and toasted, completely unaware of the rot underneath the glamorous surface. Maya's phone buzzed during dessert. A text from an unknown number. Clever girl, thinking you can beat us at our own game. But you're forgetting something important. We're always 3 steps ahead. Sweet dreams, bride-to-be. And after V, Maya's blood ran cold. They knew. Somehow, they knew she was planning something. She excused herself to the bathroom, her mind racing. If they knew, they'd adjust their plan. They might even call off the wedding, disappear before she could expose them. Unless... unless they thought they could still win, unless they were so arrogant, so confident in their abilities, that they believed they could outmaneuver her even knowing she was coming. Maya looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her reflection stared back, no longer the naive girl who'd believed in fairy tale romance, but not yet whoever she would become after tomorrow. "Game on," she whispered. She returned to the dinner table with a serene smile, raising her glass to James and Victoria. "To tomorrow," she said. "To new beginnings." They smiled back, predators recognizing prey, pretending to be predator. Neither side knew who would be left standing when the dust settled. But tomorrow, one way or another, everything would change. The ultimate payback. The wedding day begins. Maya stood in her bridal suite, surrounded by flowers and champagne, feeling like she was preparing for war rather than a wedding. Her hands were steady as she applied her makeup, transforming herself into the perfect bride one last time. Sarah Morrison had arrived early, posing as a distant cousin. Thomas Reed had security stationed throughout the venue. David was in the control room, ready to broadcast what was about to happen to every screen in the building. Everything was in place. Maya's phone buzzed. "James, can't wait to see you walk down that aisle. Today is the beginning of our empire." She smiled at the message. He had no idea how right he was, just not in the way he thought. The ceremony. The church was packed with Silicon Valley's elite. Maya's father sat in the front row, looking distinguished despite his illness. She'd told him everything last night, shown him all the evidence. Marcus Chen had gone pale, then red with fury, then cold with determination. "Let them think they've won," he'd said, echoing her own strategy. "And then we show them what happens when they target a Chen." Now, as Maya walked down the aisle on her father's arm, she saw James waiting at the altar. He looked genuinely moved, tears in his eyes, such a good actor. Victoria sat in the second row, her smile sharp and knowing. The ceremony proceeded flawlessly. Maya said her vows with a steady voice, each word a performance. When James kissed her, she tasted victory and poison in equal measure. They were married. The trap was set. The reception reveals. The reception hall was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, a 12-tier cake that cost more than most people's cars. Maya moved through the crowd on James's arm, accepting congratulations, playing her role perfectly. Then, during the toasts, Marcus Chen stood up. "I have a very special wedding gift for my daughter and her new husband," he announced, pulling out an envelope. The room went quiet. "A contract that will bind our families together forever." Maya saw James's eyes light up. This was it, the moment he'd been waiting for. Marcus was going to sign over control of Chintech. But Marcus didn't open the contract. Instead, he handed the microphone to Maya. "Actually, Dad, I have a gift too," Maya said sweetly. "A gift of truth." She nodded to David. The screens throughout the hall, set up for displaying wedding photos, suddenly showed something else entirely. Emails, financial records, recorded conversations between James and Victoria, laying out their entire scheme in excruciating detail. The room erupted in gasps and confused murmurs. James Hartwell and Victoria Ashford have spent the past 2 years planning to destroy my family, Maya said, her voice carrying across the stunned silence. This wedding, this partnership, this entire relationship was an elaborate con to steal my father's company. James's face went white. Victoria stood up, trying to leave, but Thomas Reed's security team blocked the exits. "You can't prove anything," James said, his charming mask finally cracking. "This is all circumstantial." Actually, Sarah Morrison stood up from her table, her voice clear and strong. "It's not." "I'm Sarah Morrison, James did the same thing to my family 5 years ago, and I've been working with Maya to document every parallel, every pattern, every piece of evidence that shows this is your method of operation. On screen, more evidence appeared. James's and Victoria's previous victims, financial trails, legal documents, everything compiled into an irrefutable case. You're insane, Victoria spat, abandoning her sophisticated facade. This is our wedding day, you're ruining everything. No, Maya said coldly. I'm saving everything. My father's company, my family's legacy, and every future victim you two were planning to target. She turned to the crowd. The FBI is already reviewing all of this evidence. Corporate fraud investigators are examining your financial records, and every major business publication in the country is receiving these files as we speak. James lunged toward her, but Thomas Reed stepped between them. Don't, Thomas warned. You've already lost. Walk away with what dignity you have left. The public reckoning. Within hours, the story exploded across the media. Silicon Valley wedding exposes elaborate corporate con dominated every business and gossip site. James and Victoria's faces were everywhere, their carefully constructed reputations crumbling in real time. But Maya wasn't finished. She'd set up interviews with all of James and Victoria's previous victims. Sarah Morrison went on television, telling her story with devastating clarity. Others came forward, creating a chorus of voices that couldn't be ignored or dismissed. The FBI opened formal investigations. Shareholders sued. Business partners scrambled to distance themselves. Within 72 hours, Hartwell Innovations was worthless. Victoria's assets were frozen, and both faced multiple lawsuits and potential criminal charges. Maya watched it all unfold from her father's study, feeling neither joy nor satisfaction, just a cold sense of justice being served. How do you feel? Marcus asked, sitting beside his daughter. Empty, Maya admitted. I thought I'd feel triumphant, but I just feel sad. Sad that people like them exist. Sad that I loved someone who never existed. Marcus put his arm around her. That's because you have a good heart. Don't let what they did turn you cold. I won't, Maya promised. But I won't be naive again either. 6 months later. Maya stood in the Chentech boardroom, addressing shareholders as the company's new chief strategy officer. Her father had officially brought her into the business, recognizing that she'd inherited not just his money, but his mind for strategy. The experience with James had transformed her. She was harder now, more cautious, but also more determined. She'd started a foundation to help families targeted by corporate fraud, using her story to raise awareness and provide resources. Sarah Morrison had become a close friend and business advisor. Together, they'd identified 3 other couples running similar schemes and helped authorities build cases against them. As for James and Victoria, they faced years of legal battles, their reputations destroyed, their assets seized. The empire they'd tried to build on the backs of their victims had collapsed into dust. The unexpected visitor. Maya was working late in her office when her assistant buzzed. Miss Chen, there's a Detective Marcus Rivera here to see you. He says it's about the Hartwell case. Maya frowned. The case was closed, as far as she knew. Send him in. Detective Rivera was in his late 30s, professional and direct. Miss Chen, I wanted to inform you personally. We've uncovered something new in our investigation of James Hartwell and Victoria Ashford. Maya's stomach tightened. What kind of something? Evidence that they were planning something more than corporate fraud, Rivera said grimly. We found correspondence suggesting they were planning to eliminate obstacles if their original plans failed. The word hung in the air between them. Eliminate. Me? Maya whispered. You and your father, Rivera confirmed. We found search histories about untraceable poisons, accidental deaths, ways to trigger heart attacks in someone with pre-existing conditions. He leaned forward. Miss Chen, if you hadn't exposed them when you did, if you'd gone through with the marriage and tried to fight later. Maya felt her blood run cold. They hadn't just been trying to steal her family's fortune. They'd been preparing to kill for it. They're facing additional charges now, Rivera continued. Conspiracy to commit murder. With the evidence we have, they're looking at decades in prison. After the detective left, Maya sat alone in her office as the city lights flickered on below. She thought about the girl she'd been 6 months ago, the one who believed in fairy tale love and happy endings. That girl was gone, burned away in the fire of betrayal and revenge. But someone new had risen from the ashes. Someone stronger, wiser, more dangerous to anyone who might try to hurt her family again. Her phone rang. Sarah Morrison. Did you hear? Sarah asked. About the murder conspiracy? Yes. How do you feel? Maya thought about it. Grateful, she said finally. Grateful I trusted my instincts. Grateful I fought back. Grateful I'm still here, we both are, Sarah said. And we're going to make sure other people learn to fight back too. Yes, Maya agreed. We are. 1 year later, the final chapter. The courtroom was packed as the judge read the verdict. James Hartwell, guilty on all counts. 23 years in federal prison. Victoria Ashford, guilty on all counts. 20 years in federal prison. Maya sat between her father and Sarah, watching as the two people who'd tried to destroy multiple families were led away in handcuffs. James looked broken, defeated. Victoria's sophisticated mask had completely crumbled, revealing the desperate criminal underneath. As they passed Maya's row, James looked at her one last time. I really did love you, he said quietly. At first, before it became about the money, Maya held his gaze. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of me, the access I represented, the empire you could build. She leaned forward slightly. But you never knew me. Because if you had, you would have known better than to underestimate a Chen. Later, at the celebration dinner with her family and allies, Marcus Chen raised his glass. To my daughter, he said, his voice full of pride, who proved that the best revenge isn't about destruction. It's about justice, truth, and protecting those who can't protect themselves. Everyone raised their glasses. Maya smiled, feeling lighter than she had in months. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Miss Chen, my name is Rebecca Walsh. I just got engaged to a man named Michael Preston, and something doesn't feel right about his business partner. I saw your story in the news. Can we talk? Maya looked at Sarah, who'd received a similar message and was showing it to her. Again? Sarah asked. Again, Maya confirmed. But this time she was ready. This time she knew exactly what to do. She typed back, meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., and bring everything you have. We're going to stop them before they can hurt you. Because that was who Maya Chen had become. Not a victim, not a naive girl believing in fairy tale romance. She was a warrior, a protector, someone who'd learned the hard way that the best love stories aren't about finding your other half. They're about becoming whole enough to stand alone and strong enough to defend others. The game had changed her. But she'd changed the game right back. And she was just getting started. The end.